Lila Ray was a rising star. Ava Carlyle was her trusted manager, and one of them was hiding a deadly secret. What began as a glittering partnership built on fame and fortune ended in a brutal, live-streamed murder that shocked millions. Behind the ring lights, brand deals, and viral videos lay a twisted story of betrayal, obsession, and the chilling moment the camera captured everything, including the final breath of a young influencer whose life ended far too soon. Lila Ray's story began like many others in the digital age, with a phone, a ring light, and a dream. At just 20 years old, she dropped out of college to pursue content creation full-time, a decision that baffled her family and confused her friends. But Lila had a vision. She wasn't just another TikTok dancer or beauty guru. Her content mixed humor, lifestyle advice, mental health advocacy, and a touch of chaos that made her stand out. People didn't just watch her, they connected with her. Within a year, she had gone from a few hundred views to millions. By early 2025, Lila had amassed over 3 million followers. She had brand deals with major fashion labels, was invited to influencer parties in Los Angeles, and even landed a podcast deal. But what made her truly different was how open she was with her audience. Lila talked about her anxiety, her past struggles with body image, and the loneliness that came with internet fame. She didn't pretend to have a perfect life, and that vulnerability became her brand. Her fans, mostly young women, saw her as a big sister figure, someone who understood them in a world full of filters and fakes. But behind the scenes, not everything was as polished as it appeared. Lila had become increasingly paranoid in the months before her death. She told friends that she felt watched, though she couldn't explain why. Her posts began to shift in tone. They were still funny and stylish, but subtle messages began to appear. Cryptic captions, eerie backgrounds, strange pauses during live streams. At first, fans assumed she was starting a new content series, maybe a horror-themed campaign or a digital mystery game. But Lila never confirmed or denied anything. She just kept posting, as though trying to send a message without fully saying it. In her personal life, Lila had become more isolated. She stopped attending events, declined interviews, and even took breaks from social media, rare for someone whose entire career depended on visibility. Some chalked it up to burnout. Others suspected a secret relationship or personal crisis. What no one knew at the time was that Lila had discovered something that made her question the people closest to her. Still, to the public eye, she was thriving. Her videos were pulling in millions of views. Her clothing line was preparing to launch, and she teased a book project in an Instagram story. Lila Ray was, by all appearances, unstoppable. But in the world of social media, appearances can be deceiving. Lila was building a brand, yes, but she was also building a case, saving files, taking screenshots, watching her back. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know how soon. What began as a story of viral success was quietly spiraling into something far darker. And in just a few short weeks, that darkness would take center stage, live, in front of thousands, in one of the most chilling moments the internet has ever seen. April 2nd, 2025, started off like any other day for Lila Ray. She posted a few casual TikToks in the morning, one about her breakfast smoothie, another joking about being single again. Her fans flooded the comments with hearts and laughing emojis. Around 6 p.m, she announced she'd be going live later that night to answer questions and chat about her new skincare routine. It was nothing out of the ordinary. Her followers had seen her do dozens of these streams before. No one expected this one to end in horror. At exactly 8:03 p.m, Lila went live from her bedroom. The lighting was soft, the background tidy, her signature LED lights glowing in purple and blue. She looked relaxed, sitting cross-legged on her bed with a mug in hand. As viewers poured into the live stream, the tone was playful. She responded to fan questions, teased upcoming collaborations, and joked about the chaos of her inbox. At one point, she laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. It all felt normal, until it didn't. Around 8:18 p.m., something changed. Lila paused mid-sentence and glanced toward the door off camera. Her smile dropped slightly, though she tried to recover. She brushed her hair behind her ear and continued talking, but she kept looking over her shoulder every few seconds. Then came a sound, faint at first, like a creak. She froze. Her eyes widened just a bit, enough for attentive viewers to notice. The chat began to fill with confusion. "Did you hear that?" one user typed. "Is someone there?" asked another. Lila stood up, moving out of the frame. Only the soft glow of her room remained visible. Muffled noises could be heard. A thump, a rustle, something falling. The screen shook slightly as the phone was bumped. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a figure moved across the wall, just a shadow, but enough to cause panic in this chat. Viewers begged for Lila to respond. The tone shifted from playful to alarmed. Suddenly, a loud noise burst through the stream, the unmistakable sound of a gunshot. Lila collapsed back into view. She fell onto the edge of the bed, her eyes wide in shock, blood soaking through her shirt. Her hand twitched once before going still. The stream kept rolling. Panic erupted online. Thousands of people witnessed it in real time. Some thought it was a sick joke, a horror skit for attention. Others knew immediately something was terribly wrong. For nearly 5 full minutes, the live stream continued. The camera faced the empty space where Lila had once sat, now a crime scene. Then, without warning, the stream cut out. TikTok's automated system had flagged it for violence and shut it down. But the footage had already spread. Clips were downloaded, reposted, and analyzed frame by frame. It was the first time in history that a high-profile influencer was murdered during a live stream. The internet exploded with theories, horror, and grief, and somewhere the killer slipped away, leaving behind a digital nightmare that would haunt millions. In the hours following Lila Ray's death, chaos unfolded both online and offline. Police arrived at her downtown Los Angeles apartment to a scene that was as surreal as it was grim. The room still glowed with soft LED lights. The live stream phone lay on the floor, and her coffee mug had rolled under the bed. Lila's body had already been removed by the time news reporters descended on the building. Fans gathered outside, some in disbelief, others in tears. But behind the scenes, investigators were already focused on finding who had done this, and why. The first suspect emerged almost immediately. Devin Chase, a fellow content creator, was quickly named by both fans and tabloids. He had a well-known online feud with Lila, one that had been going on for months. Devin had once accused Lila of stealing the concept for a comedy sketch that had gone viral. When she publicly denied it, he spiraled. Angry videos, cryptic posts, and thinly veiled threats followed. At one point, he even posted a now-deleted TikTok that featured him pointing to text that read, "You think you can steal and get away with it." To many, it seemed obvious. Devin had motive, he had obsession, and he had made no effort to hide his resentment. Fans circulated screenshots of their arguments, his deleted tweets, and his disturbing videos. Hashtags like, "Justice for Lila," and Jock's arrest Devon trended worldwide. The pressure on authorities to act was overwhelming. Detectives brought Devon in for questioning the next morning. He didn't resist. In fact, he walked into the station with his lawyer already prepared. For hours, police examined his alibi. He claimed he had been live streaming a video game session on Twitch at the exact time Lila was killed. At first, it seemed like a convenient excuse, another content creator using live streaming as a cover. But as investigators dug deeper, it held up. Devon's stream had hundreds of viewers, all of whom confirmed he had been on camera, speaking and reacting to gameplay continuously throughout the night. The Twitch recording matched up exactly with the timeline of Lila's murder. There were no interruptions, no gaps, no opportunity to slip away unnoticed. When faced with the evidence, police had no choice but to clear him, at least for now. This left investigators back at square one. No fingerprints had been found at the crime scene, no signs of forced entry. The gun used in the shooting was unregistered and wiped clean. Whoever had done this had planned carefully, leaving almost no trace behind. As the days passed, the mystery only deepened. Rumors spread like wildfire online. Some believed it was a stalker. Others claimed Lila had faked her own death. A few even suggested it was part of a twisted marketing stunt gone wrong, but none of those theories matched the reality investigators were uncovering. Because while the world focused on Devon Chase, someone else, someone much closer to Lila, was quietly erasing their footprints, believing they had just committed the perfect crime. While the public fixated on Devon Chase, detectives turned their attention to a quieter set of clues. Ones hidden not in headlines, but in Lila Ray's phone. After securing her devices, a digital forensics team began combing through thousands of messages, emails, cloud files, and videos. At first, it was overwhelming. Mundane texts, brand deals, fan interactions. But then they found something unusual, a folder titled No Trust. Inside were dozens of screenshots, voice notes, and images Lila had collected. Some showed email conversations with her management agency. Others were photos of financial spreadsheets. One draft video file, never posted, was particularly alarming. In it, Lila sat in her car, her voice shaky but clear, as she explained that someone had been stealing from her for months. She didn't name names, but the suspicion in her voice was unmistakable. She mentioned shady contracts, missing payments, and threats made when she confronted the person responsible. She ended the video by saying, "If anything happens to me, this is where to start." The investigation took a dramatic turn. Police focused on her inner circle, and at the center was Ava Carlisle, Lila's manager and closest professional ally. Ava had worked with Lila since the beginning of her rise. She was often seen in the background of videos, helping with shoots or answering calls. To fans, she was just the manager. To Lila, she'd been a trusted partner, even a friend. But something didn't add up. Financial records showed Ava had been diverting funds from several of Lila's brand deals into a separate bank account under a different business name. In some cases, she signed contracts using digital signatures Lila never authorized. When confronted by email, Ava responded vaguely, blaming the agency or clerical errors. But Lila had clearly caught on. The documents in the No Trust folder proved she had been preparing to expose Ava publicly. Further evidence came from security footage obtained from a nearby apartment complex. While the killer had managed to avoid cameras directly outside, Lila's building, a blurry image from a side alley, caught a figure entering through a side entrance just minutes before the shooting. Investigators enhanced the image. The build, clothing, and walking pattern strongly resembled Ava Carlisle. What truly incriminated her, however, was a rental car. Ava had rented a vehicle under a fake name 2 days before the murder. The car was parked just a block from Lila's apartment the night she died. Surveillance footage from the rental company matched Ava's face to the rental transaction, and a parking ticket issued to the car placed it at the scene during the time of the live stream. When confronted with the evidence, Ava denied everything. She claimed it was coincidence, insisted she had nothing to do with the murder. But the trail was too clear, too detailed to dismiss. Police arrested her in her Hollywood apartment on April 6th, 4 days after Lila's death. The betrayal shocked everyone. The killer hadn't come from the outside. She had been beside Lila all along, smiling, organizing her life, and waiting for the perfect moment to silence her. Ava Carlisle's arrest sent shockwaves through the influencer world. To those who knew her, she had always seemed professional, calm, and deeply committed to Lila Ray's success. But beneath that polished surface was a manipulative and calculating individual who had watched Lila rise to fame and slowly decided she wanted more: control, money, and ultimately silence. The evidence stacked against her was overwhelming, and the trial that followed became one of the most closely followed courtroom dramas of the year. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Ava showed little emotion, her expression cold and unreadable. Prosecutors laid out the timeline meticulously, showing how she had rented the car under an alias, stalked Lila's building to find blind spots in the camera coverage, and used a silenced, untraceable firearm to carry out the murder. They presented Lila's folder labeled "No Trust" as a digital diary of fear and foresight. One of the most haunting moments came when jurors were shown the unreleased video Lila had, recorded days before her death. Her voice trembled as she said she didn't feel safe and suspected betrayal from someone she trusted. The defense tried to argue that the evidence was circumstantial. They claimed Ava had been framed, that someone else with access to her personal information had set her up. They even suggested the digital files could have been manipulated, but it wasn't enough. The rental car footage, financial fraud, motive, and the calculated way in which the murder was executed all pointed directly to her. After a 2-week trial, the jury deliberated for less than 6 hours. Ava Carlisle was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict offered a measure of justice, but it did little to ease the grief of Lila's fans, friends, and family. Her mother, who had stayed out of the spotlight during the investigation, gave a quiet but powerful statement after the sentencing. She said her daughter had trusted too easily and that her kindness had been taken advantage of in the worst way. Lila's story became a chilling reminder that success and visibility come with dangers, not just from strangers, but sometimes from the people closest to us. In the months that followed, tributes to Lila flooded social media. Fans held virtual vigils. Artists created digital portraits of her, and hashtags honoring her memory trended for weeks. Her final videos were turned into a montage celebrating her life, her laughter, and her legacy. TikTok eventually added a small tribute banner on her profile, which remained active as a memorial page. Beyond the mourning, Lila's death sparked conversations about influencer safety, the pressure of fame, and the dark side of online celebrity culture. Her murder wasn't just a tragedy. It was a wake-up call for an industry that often prizes visibility over security. Though Lila Ray's life ended in a moment of horror, her voice, her impact, and her truth continue to echo far beyond the screen.